The CIA's illegal prisons overseas have been closed, and with them, a dark chapter in American history is closing too. But in our fourth story tonight, the Obama administration still stands in the way of writing the final chapter to that sad, toxic portion of our history. First, the good news. CIA Director Leon Panetta now has admitted the existence of so-called black sites, secret U.S. prisons overseas. He says the CIA is no longer holding anyone there and is in the process of shutting them down and will no longer conduct the torture, he calls it enhanced interrogation, authorized by the Bush White House and Bush Justice Department. All of this is in accordance with one of President Obama's very first directives, and not surprisingly, in accordance with fundamental U.S. law and principles. Now the bad news. In an email to employees yesterday, Panetta wrote about the enhanced interrogations committed by CIA officers, saying, quote, officers who act on guidance from the Department of Justice or acted on such guidance previously should not be investigated, let alone punished. This is what fairness and wisdom require. Panetta specifically says private contractors will no longer interrogate suspects, but he does not explain why fairness or wisdom require not even investigating CIA officers such as Mark Swanner, whose interrogation of one detainee led to his death, as well as a recommendation for prosecution by the Bush CIA's own Inspector General. A recommendation the Bush Department of Justice and now the Obama CIA dismissed. With us tonight is John Sifton, blogger for the Daily Beast and a private investigator and attorney whose firm does research for human rights groups. And John, thanks for your time tonight.
Good evening.
You have written before about the reasons behind Panetta's reluctance to look into what the CIA did. Can you explain?
Well, one of the issues here is that the senior leadership of the CIA is still infected with people who themselves are implicated in the torture and other abuses that occurred back in 2002 through 2006 when the CIA prisons were fully functioning. So right beneath Panetta, for instance, the deputy director of the CIA, Stephen Kappas, was a senior officer in the Directorate of Operations. Beneath him, Michael Sulik, who's now the director of the National Clandestine Service of the CIA. Both men centrally implicated in the secret prisons and in the torture that took place there. They're supposed to give good advice to the director and to the president. The problem here is that you're not going to get unvarnished, objective advice from people who themselves are implicated in this. And so they have a reason and an interest to convince their director and the president that investigations are not the way to go.
And as far as the president is concerned, by some accounts, Mr. Obama feels out of his comfort zone when it comes to intelligence and counterterrorism issues. Is that also what's going on here? The president feels a bit inexperienced on this stuff, and the intelligence community is so fiercely against any sort of investigation that the compromised White House position is, well, okay, we will not look back.
There might be some truth to that. He's a grown man, but a new president. I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the CIA always plays this game with any new president and with any member of the executive branch or Congress. They come in and they razzle-dazzle you with the truth and with the secrets and the classified information. And then they suggest that if you mess up what they're doing, that the earth will stop spinning on its axis. The fact of the matter is the Obama administration should just push back and say, look, we have a serious problem here. There's a huge credibility problem. We got to bring the United States back to where it was a beacon to other countries, where State Department officials could challenge Egypt about their rights record and not be told, who are you to lecture us? So, it's time to push back against the CIA and say, let's get our house in order, let's prosecute these people for the past and move on and take us back to where we were.
What do the law and even the Geneva Conventions dictate that we should do?
Well, look, to be fair, the Department of Justice has a lot on its plate right now. They have to prosecute white-collar criminals for massive fraud. They have to deal with, the terrorists at Guantanamo Bay who are going to be the alleged terrorists who are going to be brought to U.S. territory. But I think Obama could make a great example and set a great symbol for the fealty to law if he were able to prosecute both the alleged September 11th perpetrators and the alleged torturers who tortured them into confessing, even though that wasn't necessary, at the same time. And so, that is something that can be done. That's something that President Obama should tell the Department of Justice to do.
If the CIA will not look back and the Justice Department, perhaps because of guidance from the White House, doesn't want to look back, is that the end of it? And all we are left with is this nagging feeling that something very bad happened, but we can't know exactly what?
Well, that's another good point. The fact of the matter is this. Regardless of what President Obama decides to do, these issues are going to stay with us. And that's for one simple reason. the perpetrators of September 11th are going to be tried in federal court or in military courts here in the United States someday. And when they are, the issue of their torture and what happened to them will come out, whether the Bush administration wants it or not. So you might as well, if you're the Bush administration, have the truth come out on your own terms, prosecuting the torturers, instead of having it come out from the mouths of the perpetrators of September 11th. Let's not let the victims of September 11th down by allowing the perpetrators of that massive crime become victims and sort of steal the show. Let's have Obama say, we're going to do both. We're going to prosecute 9/11, and we're going to prosecute these tortures and show that we are a nation committed to the rule of law.
John Sifton of thedailybeast.com and oneworldresearch.com. And John, great stuff, and thanks so much for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks.